Howdy y'all, DJ TJ here with RollToWound.com. In today's tournament battle report, we'll be doing part 2 from the Hammerfest GT. So, stick around. Alright guys, so if you're interested in seeing the first part of this battle report, I'll have a link in the description. You can also find it on my channel. I cover the lists in that and sort of have a big long commentary on tactics and things. But for part 2, I'm just sort of getting right into the games, right after a short recap, just talking about sort of what happened. So in the first 2 games, I played Ideneth Deepkin and a Gloomspite Git. Good games, fun games. I really enjoyed them, and now I'm going into the last game of the day, which is game 3, and I'm up against Tzeench. And if you look at all the tournament lists, there's only 2 Tzeench players out of 80-something people, and I got paired up with the other one. So we're going to jump right into that game coming up now.
I'm here with Esteban. Esteban has a beautiful Tzeench army. I think we're the only 2 Tzeench players at it.
Apparently, yeah.
All right. So we're playing Savage Games, and I've deployed like so. I'm a little worried about what this army does because I kind of know what it does. So I don't know if I'm taking the first turn or not. I guess I'll think about it a little bit after I roll Destiny dice. I think it's going to be the big deciding factor. But we'll come back after the first player's first turn. Oh, the mental anguish. I do not know what I did. He was deployed far enough back, I was scared to go over there. So basically, I just moved everything up. I did aggressive expansion to take the center 2 points. And I tried to see if he caught it. If he did not catch it and redeploy his unit of pinks, I would have took that point. But he caught it and redeployed his pinks, so I did not take that point. I just sort of scooted up. Archaon's fully buffed. I could have done it if I would have done a pregame move, but I didn't really want to run into his pinks and all the extra shooting and flaming and craziness. So we're going to sit back and see what he does. Going into Tzeench turn 1.
Other Tzeench.
Tzeench. All right, so other Tzeench turn 2 is wrapped up. He moved all these around here, and they shot these guys. He did a couple spells and killed a couple of the screamers, or most of the screamers off. He used Ferocious Advance as his battle tactic, and he made it all these guys in, and he actually took that point. So right now he scored 5 for the turn.
Yep, 5.
And going into a priority roll-off, which for turn 2. All right, I got it with a 6. I think I would take it for sure. All right, so my turn did not go perfect as planned, but it wasn't horrible. I was able to get into combat, but I really screwed myself by moving flamers up, and he redeployed. It was a mess on my end. But the one good thing is I did bring out some blues, and I used Destiny dice to make their charge. So I'm taking the center point, right? So I should have your point, my point, this point. And my battle tactic was Ferocious Advance.
So 4, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So 9 points for me, and that's where we're sitting. We're going into his Tzeench turn 2. See what happens. All right, so we finished up. Yes, that was only 2 turns. It was lots of thought process going into it. He ended up taking this point in his turn. I'm already started pulling models. He did not manage to get this point. I was still able to hold it, and we ran out of time for the end of the game. So very good list, very fun to play against, except getting shot in the face. That's about it. Oh yeah.
All right, so to sort of recap, first off, I want to apologize that battle report was super short, and I didn't really go into much detail about my turn or his turn. Spells, cast, destiny dice, and that was some of the critiques and comments from the first videos. I need to talk a little bit more about that, and it is always my goal to give you the information, except no excuses. But end of the day, just thinking about so many things, got a little bit sidetracked and just the thought process. That game only went 2 turns. I don't really know how. It was 2 Tzeentch players playing. I felt that I took a pretty long turn 1, and Esteban took a pretty long on a turn 2 with all his movement, and there was a lot of stuff going on, spells, moving, everything else. We talked a lot of stuff out. It was just a very slow, methodical game when we played, and then the next thing you know, we looked up, and it was kind of like, we're running out of time. So we just kind of talked out the last turn, decided and set, and sort of talked out the turns and talked about what was going to happen, what was going on, and it was decided, yeah, I've sort of got this battle. Really just Archaon getting, once he got into the flamers, that was his major damage output for that army, and once he got in the flamers and sort of started working them, the game, it was going to go sideways for him. I believe, in my opinion, pretty quickly, especially depending on priority roles and things like that. It was interesting to play an Eternal Conflagrations list. I was worried about those chariots, and I think that his list is a very hard matchup for a lot of armies out there. Against me, it wasn't that bad of a matchup, just because I had the bodies, and then I could match him body for body with the pink, and then my damage output is a little bit better, or at least equal to his flamers, but I had more survivability, and I think that was what was going to win me the game in the end. I talked about a tactical error that I made. With this army and this list, I'm always trying to get that 9-inch charge with Destiny dice to give me that +1 to all my attack profiles, and I obviously wasn't able to set that up turn 1. I could have, but I felt that I was going to sort of outkick my coverage. I was going to be way on his side of the board, tying up with pinks. There's going to be lots of damage coming at Archaon. I wasn't quite ready for that. On my turn 2, I had set up that 9-inch charge, and then I made the foolish mistake of pushing up my brims just a little bit, and I moved him within 9, and he caught it. And I think that was one thing about the game too, that me and him had a ton of dialogue and a ton of back and forth, being 2 different Tzeentch players. Really just, I would make a move and say, here's my move. And then I would wait to see his reaction and what he would do. And then, the majority of the time he would know what I was thinking and catch it and do a reaction. And I say, yep, that was exactly what I was worried about. Or, hey, we even talked about, I wanted to do this. If I would have done it, would you have caught that? And he goes, yeah, I was expecting you to do that, and I would have done this. So we sort of just had a lot of dialogue, and there was a lot of talking going on, and I think that's what added to the time of the game. But all in all, it was fun playing another Tzeentch player, because I haven't had that opportunity to put my Archaon list up against that, and I think it's a hard match for Tzeentch, just having Archaon with the damage output. As long as you don't get really wrapped up in the pinks, because Archaon, unless he double activates, he's not going to kill 50. I don't see him killing 50 in a turn. If he can get the double activation and you roll pretty solid, yeah, I think you can wipe the 50. I think I've done the math hammer. He does something like 30 something, 40 wounds or so in there. So you need that double activation to do it, or you need other support. All right. All that being said, we're moving in to the next day, which would be my game 4 Sunday morning. So let's check it out.
Struggle against James West. Please excuse the lighting that's coming in. That's crazy over here. We got some bad morning light. So this was the same armies that we played my very first game at the local tournament. We are both, this is what happens when you win 3 games in a row. You get to play James. That's the table 4. So I'm letting James have the first turn, and we're going to take it from there. All right, James's turn is over. He ran with these guys over here, shuffled those guys up. He got his tactical objective, which was Ferocious Advance with his 3 monsters. He put a couple mortal wounds on my Tzeench caster from the birds, right? Yeah. He made the charge over here. This is where it all went wrong. I was actually okay with it in theory. He piled into Archaon and ended up doing 24 wounds to the pinks and 10 wounds to Archaon with his cavalry. Was very unexpected, and then Archaon did have the double activation, but when I killed the 2, he was out of second piling range, so Archaon only did 14 damage. We only did, what, total of 16 or 17 damage from that combat.
I mean, you got 11 damage off the cause, so...
Yeah, this is true, and that was a really hard spike on that. So it's going into my turn, and we will figure out what we're doing. All right, so into my turn, I got all the buffs up on Archaon. I only healed 3 wounds. That's what it is. We got the Sky Sharks out. They ran up there. A battle tactic was kill a battle line. I killed the battle line with Archaon. I just sort of shifted around to hold these points. So we're just holding points, and we're about to go into the roll-off for a turn. James got a 5. I got a 1. So there you go. James has the choice. Well, that turn was a mixed bag for me. James selected to kill the horrors over here, just kill this battle line. I was able to redeploy, and I rolled a 4, and I got him at 11 inches, and then he made a, he rolled a 10. He rolled a 10, but he has +1 to charge, so he made the long bomb charge and wiped that unit. It was so close. That would have been a 3-point swing. That was huge. I killed like 1 frost saber. He stomped some guys over here. This unit actually held up pretty well against the Morn thing, so we're going into my turn 2, and we're going to see what I should or could do. I'm sort of hemmed in.
1, 2, 3.
All right, not a horrible turn for me. I managed to kill him. I picked for my battle tactic to run because I was not sure that I could take that point or kill his warlord. It was very iffy to me, but really the board looks pretty good depending on this roll right here.
Got a 1.
I got a 6.
Okay.
So I'm probably, well, if I take it, he's going to burn it, so we're going to talk about it. But this is what the board looks like right now. All right, so we just wrapped up my turn. I got the double turn. I took it. He burned a point, but then pretty much just started killing things. We worked out the math and pretty much called it. Got max points because things were just going to die and he wasn't going to have a way to really do much. I'm super excited, James. Sorry for the loss, but my record against James is 2 wins to like 7 losses now, so it came at a good time, I guess. Well, moving on, 4 wins. Nothing has been put in the sword yet this tournament. Moving on to last game. So we just finished up game 4, so I'm 4-1 right now. I'm really awesome. The top table's ahead of me. There is some, oh my goodness, there are some crazy good lists and really good players. So I met, one of my agendas was to make 4 wins. I'm super excited about that. That was a fun game. I think I played tactics right. It was back and forth with, what we thought to do correctly. I like to talk out with James, especially the players I know. Hey, I'm making this move, and then after I do it, like, what do you think about that? And it's always good feedback. It's a good learning experience playing James because he is such a good player. But feeling pretty good moving in. There's one Seraphon player right ahead of me, and yeah. There's a couple of lists I'm trying to avoid, so we'll see what the draw gives us, and as we're moving into the last game.
So there you had me playing James again. If you follow the channel, you know that the very first time that I ran this list at a tournament, I actually played James first game against that exact list, and I lost by a point. And that, if you go back and look, that was some really, really horrible rolling that I had that game, and he made some really good rolls that game. And I've joked with James that it feels like every time we play that his dice are super hot like the first turn, and then they cool off, and then mine are opposite and they start heating up as the game goes. And I think that's a little bit what happened. Um, he smashed him pretty hard, and Beast Claw is still a viable. It is Ogre Maltrives and Beast Claw are still super. They're viable, especially with the monster meta that's around right now. So don't overlook them. I think against me, he has to do all his damage sort of in the charge. He sort of has a window to get in and really put the hurt on. And the negative two hit bubbles that I have really, really affect those guys. That really hurts them, and that's what sort of keeps me alive. It keeps all the pinks alive, is those negative to hits. So it was a good game. Like I said, James is one of the best players in Texas, and he knows what he's doing all the time. He's playing his Beast Claw list at the tournament, and it was a pretty good matchup for me. I like that matchup with this list because I have the bodies to just hold things, and it gives Archaon time to kill a couple of his monsters. And once you do that, it really puts him behind the 8 ball. So like I was commenting in that sort of wrap up, I'm 4-1. That was one of my personal tactical objectives or agendas, and it was to put 3 things in the sword. I have yet to put any heroes in the sword this tournament so far. In fact, I've only went. I was trying to think back. I don't even think that I've had the opportunity, except once or twice, to actually fight heroes with Archaon. Everybody tries to avoid him, and I'm mostly just running through their battle line. So I also commented about trying to avoid a Seraphon player that was on table 3, I think, or table 2. Seraphon is a pretty hard matchup against Tzeentch, and especially Tzeentch Archaon. They can do the extra damage. They get rid of one of my damage. There's just a lot of hard counters to some of the stuff I do, and so I always look at Seraphon as sort of my number one thing out there that I'm trying to avoid. Bow snakes are not fun either, but Seraphon really has some tools that hamper my list. All that being said, we're moving into final game. I'm placed on at table 2. I think I'm coming in at 4th place or so this game, and yeah, we'll see who the matchup is right now.
Playing Feral Foray, table 2 against Mr. Chris over here. He has the Suns. He has a 1 drop to my 3 drop. So who's taking first turn, Chris? He's going to measure some stuff out. We'll come back.
14, right?
Alright, Chris finished up his turn. He ran this giant, took that point. His 2 gate crashers breakers came up. He failed a charge on the first one with a reroll and decided not to go in with the second one. He did put 4 wounds on my general by throwing. I don't know what they're throwing. They're throwing something. And then he took this point too, and that was his tactical objective, to take that point. He just ran and got in range to do that. So going into my turn 1. Well, I got all of Archaon's buffs up. He got a redeploy. I had to sort of move stuff around. He called it, and I didn't get his extra attack profile from the Gifts of Worship. I put 24 wounds on the big giant, but I did not kill him and take that point. I've done some other damage. I got like 11 wounds on the one right here. I've got 6 wounds on this guy over here. So we're set up. We're set up for rolling off for turn 2. That's pretty much where we're at. Yep, Chris got a 3, I got a 2. I'm pretty sure he's taking it. All right, Chris is he won the roll and he's working me with these giants. He ended up taking every single point, and I honestly forgot that giants could step over my screen, so he ended up getting enough bodies over here. He burnt this point here. He scored 7 total points, so it is 12-3 right now, and it's going into my turn. I need to kill stuff. So we'll see what happens. Yep, not getting that double really hurt. I could have used it. All right, not the greatest turn for me. I did kill the one Gargan over there for my battle. I took to take that point, and I went ahead and burned it because Chris brought up a great point that if I do get the double, he will be able to burn a point, and more than likely he would burn that one. I made a tactical error with my blue scribes, and I got him too close to the pile in, and he got piled in on and smashed. So we're down just a couple of heroes. Kind of sucks. Going into a big roll off right now, going into turn 3. 5-2. Let me think about it, but I might take it. All right, so Archaon came over here, killed this giant, and that was my battle tactic to kill a monster. I ended up taking 4 total points. I made 5 total points. I hold this one. I killed a monster with a monster, and I killed a giant. So basically that. I was not able to make it over here. I was an inch out, and he's been working the blues. I did summon an extra unit of blues, but they failed to charge in. So we're going into his turn 3. He burnt that objective over there for his for the turn 3 burn, or the turn 3 second turn burn. So that's what we're sitting at right now. Going into giant turn 3. All right, so Chris's turn. He pulled off and went over there and killed some screamers. Took that point. He already had the point. He burnt this point, killed a bunch of screamers. Flamers. There are 3 left alive. It's pretty much all that really happened. I put a couple wounds on each giant. Now we're going to priority turn 4. Giving it to me, or you taking it?
I'll take it.
He's going to take it. All right, Chris moved his guys up. He failed a long charge. He did smash the last 3 brims there. The biggest issue was we made a miscalculation in burning that point last turn. So we had to sort of fix that. He just piled in, and he's probably about to burn it now. All right, so he's pulling 6. He's pulling 6 this turn.
And I'm gonna burn this one.
He's pulling 7. Going into my turn. All right, so yeah, he's got 10 left. Basically, I killed the battle line over there with Archaon. Got points for that. Didn't kill his warlord. Got like 2 minutes left in this game. Let's see what the deal is and what we're going to do. All right.
So you score.
So we really just hurried through the 5th turn. We're over time now. I think there's only the top 3 tables left, playing it out a little bit. I think Chris has ended up, we will check it out. It's going to be super, super close. So let's do the calculations and come back with it. All right, so Chris calculated up the points, and it was 28-28. I finished up the points because I took away his grand strategy, and that's what gave me enough to catch up. It was a super, super close. So I don't know. I've never drawn in GT, so very interesting.
So just to take you sort of through what happened that last turn, because I know it seemed very muddled. We had went back and forth. I'd actually turned on the camera 2 or 3 times to talk about it, but it was just a lot of calculations. Judges were standing around. There was a bunch of spectators, and we were just working everything out. So in the last turn, I chose to slay. The only way that I could win or tie was to slay his warlord with Archaon. And I was able to do that. So when we calculated all the points up, that was that last 3 of me killing all his grand strategy, basically wiping his army, tied us up. After the fact, and I think it was the end of turn 4, we sort of talked, and Chris was still ahead, and I was like, hey, we can talk it out and see what happens. And he was gracious enough to say, no, I wanted to play another turn and keep going, and it ended up in a tie. Now, it was super funny because before the and I know Chris, he's one of the he's been around the tournament scene here in Houston a long time. And when I started playing AOS, some of my first battles and tournaments, I played Chris. So I was joking with him even before we began the game, and I said, "Hey, we're on table 2. Do the math, Chris. What happens if we both draw? Like, is that better for our placement?" And he laughed it off, and we talked about he used to be a Magic player, and that happens sometimes at those tournaments. And I said, "Hey, all right, let's play it out," and it ends up being a draw. So really, really weird. That is the fickle nature of Tzeench, I guess, for you. I think really. Um, One of the questionable, and we talked about it later, is when he moved his warlord over to the corner to secure that objective, basically, and to kill my screamers. I asked him, why did you come back? And if he would have just played the run game, it might have been different. I'm not sure, because Archaon had some pretty good move, and I still had Destiny dice left to make some long bomb charges. So I think that was a consideration when he was looking at everything, if he was going to get, pinned in the corner or something like that. Suns are not a horrible matchup for this army. I wish I had a little bit more mortal wound output. I think that really helps me, but really Archaon sort of rolled low that first go. I should have killed that giant with 2 activations, and that would have set me up nicely. And if I would have won that double going into that turn 2, it would have been a way. I think the game wouldn't have been that close, because I probably would have killed either his warlord or that other gate smasher crasher in my turn 2. But that's always, you say, hey, if I won the priority here or there. At the end of the day, Archaon matches up really nice to Suns. You just got to get in there and start killing them quick, because that's the whole game with the Suns, is you got to put the damage, you got to start dropping them, because they only have really 4 bodies to do anything with, and once you start knocking them down. The other thing about it being feral for Ray, um, I think that played a little bit into his favor, because with the ability to burn points, it really put me behind the 8 ball, and having to do that damage quicker, get out there and start taking things. If it we didn't have the ability to burn points, I think that it might have been a little bit more in my favor too, just because I would eventually, he took points the first turn just based off, he didn't even have to go into combat with my pinks. He just went and sat on and had 30 wounds or 30 models worth of a giant sitting on it, and all I had was 10 pinks. And he knew better than to actually hit them so that they would turn into 20 and things like that. Chris is a really good player, and it was a close game. I enjoyed it. It was super fun, and it was awesome going, 4 and a tie at a GT. Like I said, the placement, I ended up doing 3rd, I think, in overall battle points. But when you adjust the score with the painting and the sportsmanship and all the stuff, I ended up being 6th total place. Now, let's go back. I was trying to avoid that Seraphon list of my buddy Andrews, and um, Chris with this Suns list beat that Seraphon list, and it came down to the wire too, from my understanding. So he edged him out, and I ended up getting that matchup. Another interesting thing is my last game was against Suns, and I can't put any of them in the sword. So totally whiffed on that personal goal for this tournament, but I exceeded my wins total, so I am super happy with that. Let me just tell you this: if you have Tzeench Archaon, unless there is a big FAQ rewrite with how this works, this is a super powerful army. It does have a few hard counters out there, but if you take it to a GT, you're going to win 3 to 4 games, in my opinion. It's got tools to do what needs to be done, especially if you're a good player. If you're a good player that knows what they're doing, this can be a 4 or 5 win list with the right matchups. And I think I had good matchups the whole tournament, just not that I had, easy opponents, more of like their lists matching up to my list. I didn't have any of those hard counters that I was worried about the whole tournament. Next, I'm gonna put Tzeench down for a little bit, and we're in the Masters season, and I have some updates on the channel about the Texas Masters and where that affected my rankings. So I plan on, there's 4 GTs in the Masters season. I plan on running a different Grand Alliance for each one of those. So this was the first GT of the season. I ran Chaos. The next one I'm planning on running Death. I'm working on my Soul Blight army right now, and we'll be doing that in Austin at the Games Workshop has their GT, and that's where we're headed here in a month or so. So I'll be painting Graveguard like crazy to make it to that tournament. Guys, I know that this was not a perfect battle report or a perfect product. Please bear with me as I work through this and just try to get better at what I'm doing. I hopefully over the next month or so I'll be able to put out some non-GT battle reports of just playing some games with some of my buddies around here. I like to go a little bit more in depth, a little bit more dice rolling, and a little bit more thorough recaps. But guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with me. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and y'all be good.